Tyler, welcome to ID Fitness Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a while since I've been here, actually.
I know it. It reminds me back the intern days when you were here. And when you left, I was actually pretty sad.
Well, it was just the start of it. I feel like, right? It was only like a year. Maybe you did a couple people before me. But,
yes.
And then right after that, it got kicked off, and then COVID happened.
Yep.
And then it kind of shut down, and then getting rolling. You got the re-innovations and stuff. It's pretty sweet in here. So it feels huge.
What's crazy, too, is when I was looking forward to this podcast with you, I was like, man, this could potentially be a long one. I even go like when at the South Rec Center when I'm working out with you, I'm just like, all right, I see you there. I'm like, all right, don't go by Tyler because you're not going to work out.
No, we both are. We're both strategic about it. It was like you were on the bike doing cardio. It was the last time we had our interaction. And I just told my friend about this. I was like, man, I think we might be here until midnight. I don't know. You never know because we closed down Agave.
Yep.
And we got there maybe at like 7:30. We're sweating. We're just like, oh, well, let's go. Let's do it. And then just the reenactment and the reconnection we had, it was awesome.
Talk about, just who you are, where you're from, how you got to Oxford. You can go 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't care. Yeah. Just walk us through that process.
Tyler Myers. Got two sisters. Got my loving parents from Houston, Texas. I ended up playing junior college baseball in Paris, Texas. I was not originally committed there, which kind of steered my story around. I was originally committed to a D2 junior college in Moline, Illinois. That was about 19 hours away from home. So at the age of 16 at the time, committed there, full throttle. Coaching staff was amazing. They said, if you want to recruit yourself again, like throughout your senior year, go for it. I ended up playing really well at Blinn Junior College and junior college coach in Paris, Texas. We good? My junior college coach in Paris, Texas, Clay Cox, he became potentially pretty much another father figure of mine. He recruited me, loved all the team. It was his first year as a full-time head coach. And, growing up, I was kind of the minority within high school and stuff. And so going to Paris, Texas, in the middle of nowhere, about an hour and a half east of Dallas, grew some brothers of mine, about 6 of whom we still in contact to this day. But that was kind of my turning point in my story. And kind of the reason why I think our connection really clicked was because that was the first time I ever trusted God. I started going to church then.
Really?
Yeah. One of our teammates, Mike, saw a Bible sitting on a stand. I said, you go to church here? Can I go with you?
Yeah.
Ended up being where Coach Cox went as well. And ever since then, kind of started trying to follow God and find my faith. And which is kind of a crazy story because my grandfather, he was a lifelong pastor. And the only time I ever went to church was whenever I went to Virginia, when I went to his church. I mean, I grew up, I went to daycare at these private schools, that was church-based and followed God, but never really went with my family or anything like that. But went to Paris Junior College and, played really well. My sophomore year, ended up getting injured and knew pitching was my way out. So just started focusing truly on pitching. I got a phone call from University of Mississippi. Honestly, didn't even know it was an SEC school. Didn't even know the school existed, which was pretty wild. And no one believes me on that. I'm like, yeah, Ole Miss? I don't know. But, I mean, that's just the kind of person I am. I don't get into all this clout, all this social media stuff, even growing up throughout high school. I mean, I'm 26, but, I trusted the people that recruited me, and it was like a job. And I think that's what kind of makes me different is, I'm focused. I have an end goal. What are those short-term goals? And a lot of people don't really focus on that end goal or don't have the end goal. And so, I'm very straightforward, very trying to get my things done, have these responsibilities, these disciplines in myself, and just very hard on myself throughout the time. But got the phone call from Ole Miss and came here and then went immediately to a visit in Louisiana and got back to Paris and was like, I'm going to Ole Miss. I'm going. And so, coming on Ole Miss, played my junior year, threw about 40 innings, was an everyday bullpen guy. Senior year came around and ended up tearing my UCL, which kind of changed my whole story, going through that injury and made me where I'm at tonight. And so came back for my 5th year, did well again, but the draft never happened, which still sometimes can eat me up today, but continued my education. I was always very, really good at school and ended up doing my master's in athletic training. And then now I'm doing my doctorate in nutrition. It's my second year. So that's kind of like the lead up of where I'm at today. So kind of these testimonies throughout injuries. Like I was always pretty much injury prone ever since my senior year of high school, because I was playing basketball outside on Christmas Day and inflamed my ulnar nerve that time. So cut my senior year short. And then my sophomore year in junior college, partially tore my UCL that year. And then another 2 years later, completely tore my UCL. Gosh. So it was like every 2 years, it was just kind of this, thunderstorm in my life of baseball is my identity. How do I get through it? And so I think just having that faith and trust and knowing that I can do things with somebody, and the man upstairs, he works some wonders, and you don't know why things are going, you don't know why it's happening, but you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And that's what I'm doing now. I got a lot of battles right now, relationship wise, school wise, like full-time graduate assistant. I'm teaching now, like trying to have the social life here in Oxford. So, I mean, things are hard, but, looking back, and I just had this conversation with the Uber getting here. I was like, she was from Houston. I was like, yeah, I didn't like this place. And I said that a lot of times, but, where my feet are and looking back within the past 3 years, things are so much better, so you just got to, keep fighting, keep staying in it. I mean, you have a longevity of life.
Yep. Don't
let these 25 years of initial birth make the next 75 years hard,
Yeah.
And so where I'm at today, man, like now teaching, that's cool. Like getting into the academic side is really cool. And then being able to still be around sports with baseball is just a blessing. It keeps me calm, it keeps me sane. And so just trying to be adaptive to anything that comes.
Now you mentioned Coach Cox. Like who is that?
So Clay Cox, he's an Aggie. He's an alum. He he was coaching some collegiate summer leagues, and then got the assistant job over at Paris. And the head coach at Paris was retiring, so he took the job up from him. And his first head coach job was my first year. And before he stepped on to the full-time role as a head coach, we were maybe sending 3 guys out to a Division I college each year. And his first year, he sent out 10.
Wow. And
he is a life coach, big-time life coach. Like, his relationships that he had with everybody was different. And me and him, like, we could talk, but it was still business-like. And even to this day, we have a Snapchat streak of, like, probably almost coming up on 2,000, which is 6 years since I've been, or 7 years since I've been in JUCO.
Yeah. And
so just to be able and then see his wife, he got married and then now has 2 kids and 2 little boys, and they're growing up fast. So just seeing that growth, and like their age is pretty close to my nieces. So it's really cool to see like my actual family versus like an alternative family to grow up. So just having those connections, man. And like me and you 5 years ago, we met and here we are today. So, and that's just the type of person I am. I'm a big people's person. I'm a giver. I'm going to do everything under my belt to give. So sometimes it can come back and bite me, but I mean, I wouldn't take anything for the world.
Heck no.
Like making somebody's day just makes my day. So.
Yeah. Now is Coach Cox, is he still at the same spot?
He's still at Paris. Yeah. Okay. Still at Paris, doing good things. And
that was the high school you went to, right?
Junior college.
So this is junior college.
Yeah, junior college. They were 1 game away from the World Series.
Holy cow.
And then the year before that, they didn't make a regional. And then the year before that, it was really close to the World Series again. So just seeing that little push, like almost there, like they're going to get it real soon. So.
And now you said too, you were in the minority.
Yeah.
So explain what that is, because some people sometimes have a tendency to forget, because we're both white.
I'm actually from Houston, Texas. A lot of people here will say they're from Houston, but they're from the Woodlands, Katy, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I live in the Houston city limits, and ever since the hurricane that happened in 2005, a different kind of population shifted over into Houston, and my high school was about 4% of white population.
Holy cow.
And so we had a lot of Hispanics, we had a lot of African Americans, and we had a pretty large Asian population. And so, I was called the white boy. And so, I mean, it didn't make me famous. It didn't make me this and that. Like, I was just my own person. Like, that was my culture, you know? And so going off to Paris, and it was the baseball team and the softball team and the soccer team. That's really who was at Paris Junior College. Other than that, like the normal student body, we didn't see. And then coming to Oxford, it was, the majority of the population here is white and then African American. But kind of like touching on base like that, like I connected with those people a little bit better than, my skin color.
Yep.
And it didn't cause any problems, but it just made kind of them comfortable too, because knowing Oxford, the history in Oxford and stuff. So, I mean, it made me bond here. It made me really like settle down and like realize like I'm adaptable.
Yeah.
Like adaptability is a huge thing, especially getting to college. Like, shoot, I think we got 6,000 more students than we did last year. And
crazy.
Traffic is a mess.
Yes, Oxford's bad right now with traffic. But that is so interesting. I did not know that about you, that you were the minority, because I grew up very similar. And it's interesting because I think that's why me and you connected now looking back. Like I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And I connect more with people who are not my skin color. So I struggled when I was here. Did you have the same struggle a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, kind of just within my teammates. Coming in as a JUCO guy, my class was the #1 ranked recruiting class, and they already had their bonds. And I stepped foot on campus with all freshmen and 2 JUCO guys. And the JUCO guy, he was actually from Texas as well, and the Houston area. And how we both got recruited was in the Texas-New Mexico Junior College All-Star game. And funny story, he was getting off the flight from Oxford in Houston, and I was getting on the flight right after him going to Oxford. And then we committed within like 2 days. Like he committed, and then the next day I committed. And so that was really cool and he ended up being my roommate and things like that. But, I was the type of person that I am, like just a hard, dedicated worker. It kind of scared those freshmen off a little bit where, kind of thinking he's better than everybody because he wants to put in more work, when in reality, like, I was never the most athletic person. Like, I got called a giraffe because I was uncoordinated as heck. Yeah. But, I mean, I get it from my mom. My mom's she's so dedicated, man. Like, she's urology associate's nurse, and she brings work home, and she had her own little office, and she's doing work till 9, 10 o'clock. And so, you just see that workaholic, within your parents, and you get it from them. And so I wouldn't take anything from the world, to be honest. Like, I haven't gone to sleep before midnight, and I wake up before 7 a.m. every single day. But it's just the way I lived.
Yeah.
And people think I'm crazy about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's crazy that you say that, too, because now, like, we got spoiled when you were here being an intern. Like, I could literally leave the gym, and I'm like, well, Tyler's got it. Like, I didn't have to worry about anything. Yeah. And then when we got I think it was like the 2 batches later, we had pretty bad interns. They wound up both quitting, but it was miserable. I was like, I felt like I was babysitting. So I just got so spoiled with you and then Ben, and I'm just like, oh, this is tough.
It's kind of funny because right after we had dinner that night, I don't know if it came up on like a Google Photos memory or something, but I had videos of me demonstrating exercises in the gym. And you're recording and you're like talking mess to me, like, oh, you douchebag. Or like, oh, Mr. Cool Strong guy over here. Like,
that's totally me.
I was like, oh my goodness, this was in 2021. Like, I was recovering from my UCL injury at the time, and it was honestly a blessing because I was able to train here.
Yeah.
And I was having to go out to like Yalabusha and train, and very limited resources. Like during my recovery aspect, I couldn't even do my rehab over at baseball. We had to be at the football facility because of COVID. And so kind of coming here, like getting my actual workout in over here, you started programming for me, which made me like learn different philosophies of lifting. And it opened up my brain so much, especially going through the rehab process.
Yeah. Let's dive into that too a little bit. What do you think, just from your experience, because I love hearing an outsider's experience of your thought process with ID Fitness and how we treat our clients? Because you've been a part of that. You've helped clients here.
Yeah.
Like how would you explain it in your own words?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, not tough, but there's a lot of thoughts. I think the biggest thing that I saw was either the conditions that your clients were in, like muscle atrophy, all this stuff. There was I think she was 76 at the time, and she was deadlifting over 135.
Yeah.
And I was just, what? Like, what's going on? Like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But so I saw that, and just your love and your passion for it, the way that you were able to connect with each client personally, like in a different way, how you communicated with them, how open arms you were. Like, you were open with your testimony, you're open with your testimony with here. And that gives people comfort, because so many people are cut off or short or just trying to sell something. And especially in this industry, they're just trying to sell and make money, where that's not you. Like, you're trying to sell your heart, you know, you're trying to give love, you're trying to give them knowledge, to whenever they're done with me, they can spread what they've learned on top of what they already know. And so the culture here was a family. Like, you had these little whiteboards, and you would like write little notes on it on top of what their workouts were before you got the apps and stuff. And even within the apps, I know you
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Even within the apps, you'd always comment on their workouts, whether it was like doing better or, you know, little jokes, you know. And fitness is tough, man. It's a commitment, you know. Like, there's a lot of recommendations out there, there's a lot of myths, there's a lot of, you know, talks that people think they know things, but if you just move your body and you like it for 30, 20 minutes a day, you're going to see benefits.
Oh, absolutely.
You know. And then you go into the progressive overload concepts, but, you know, just people would come here and hang out an hour before their, you know, actual on-floor coaching time is.
Yep.
And that's awesome. That fellowship, you know, that bonding relationship. And that's where I felt so comfortable, because the way that I was outside of here, I didn't really have that. Like, ever since I started living with my roommate Braden my super senior year, like, I didn't really have a very good relationship with baseball guys on my team. Like, they had their little cliques. Like, during the field and inside the facility, we were awesome, but outside of that, I was an outcaster. Like, I didn't really hang out with anybody. Like, my roommates were off doing something else, or they were over at other players' houses, and I'm over here at my house either trying to do my homework or, you know, at that time with an eating disorder, you know, so that occupied my time, my brain. But yeah, just coming here, it really just erased everything of what an athlete is, you know. It gave me a different side of fitness.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of made you feel normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I go to South Rec, and I'm over here talking to these dudes that are squatting 5 plates, and I'm over there hyping them up, and like, everyone thinks they're, you know, these big bad, you know, wannabe bodybuilder things. And I'm like, they're squatting 505, 515 right now for 4 reps. What you mean?
Yeah.
And then I see them over at Chipotle afterwards, and I'm like, dude, yes.
That's what I'm
Let's
talking
go.
about.
Like, they're humans, you know, they're humans. They're not these people that like think they're better than you. They're just trying to make themselves better. And probably the same way in their lives. They probably don't have that community of same mindset.
Yep.
You know, and so you got to be able to understand like where people are at in their lives, and it's that communication aspect that people cut off so much because social media, or not knowing how to handle stress in the right way, or, you know, all these different other avenues that can be detrimental. And it's just, if you give positivity, man, like, it goes a long way. It goes so far.
How would you explain, since you've said it's such a strong relationship here and it also folded over to other relationships, how would you explain it to an outsider of what ID Fitness is if they're looking for a gym? Like, because that's hard. Yeah. I'm always bought into this, so it's hard for me to say that, but you've been in and you've been out of it now.
Yeah. I mean, I've told people that I was coming to do this podcast, and they're like, well, what gym are you going to? I'm like, ID Fitness. And they're like, I've never heard of that. And I'm like, well, look, here's CJ's Instagram. Go follow him first. He's funny as heck. Like, he's been making all this content. Hit that follow button first. And then I'm like, man, CJ, he's a dude, man. Like, he loves God. He loves to ride dirt bikes. Ain't nobody ride dirt bikes around here. They got their side by sides and stuff, and love go hunting. But, you know, you like the thrill. You like that adrenaline rush. You like the you know, the pump me up. Yeah. And, you know, I think I crave that too.
Yep.
And when you get here, you see that. Like, you see the passion. Like, you see the drive. You see the want. And that's accepting. Like, if somebody was to walk in here and you have those good people, those good coaches, they feel accepted rather than going to South Rec and having a personal trainer there where they're surrounded by all these other people that aren't having qualified officials, or people that, their training programs are so different. Yes, yours is adaptable and yours is different, within each person, but, there's a lot of more distractions. And here it's just this center block walls of whatever, feet by feet, not very big. And, working out it can be scary,
Yes.
being in front of people. Like, I get mad anxiety whenever I'm over at the gym over at South Rec. Like, people think I'm a maniac because of my workouts, but, and that makes me anxious because I'm like, I'm not trying to out better anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to be better for me.
Mm-hmm.
And coming in here, like, you don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the most outgoing person at all.
Yep.
But this trust and like just the magic in the air it's there, you know, and you got really cool lights.
That's what everyone says.
And well, that's the first thing that I ever noticed when I got here. Was
I remember you saying that.
These hang down lights, because everything else is like built into the ceiling or whatever. But then, you don't have these fancy gym machines. You don't have these fancy high dollar materials in your gym. You just have this simplistic that you can have in a garage. Like, yeah, it's new. It's up to date, it's clean, it's, works really well, smooth with the cardio machines or whatever. But I mean, people think you have to have this special sauce to get fit or whatever goal you have, and you don't. You just need to have, if you fix the brain, the body's going to get fixed,
Yeah.
And so, like, coming here, your brain's going to get fixed before your body gets fixed, and both of them will happen simultaneously without even knowing.
It's so crazy that you say that. So there was a client that walked in. Her name was Teresa. She just did a podcast with us too a couple weeks ago. And she said something very similar to what you just said, which I think is fascinating, is one, like you said, we truly care. And then two, that they fix your brain more than you think. And without you even sometimes knowing, then you look back, you're like, whoa. It's like, man, they care. They talked about me. They know my goals. They know my ambitions. They know what I struggle with.
They know my family.
They ask like how my grandkids doing or my kids are doing. Like, it's very interesting how intentional that is. And I'm starting to realize that that's our, I guess our differential part is we do that. How would you describe, because some clients come in, they're like, well, okay, if you guys help the brain, well, what do y'all exactly do? Because sometimes I get confused.
Yeah.
How would you explain, like, as soon as a client walks through the door, what are they going to get? Because sometimes they don't know. They don't even know if it's a gym.
Yeah. I mean, I think within your protocol, you do an evaluation and assessment physically.
Good. They don't know I do that. That's the craziest part.
People will get your body weight. People will get your height. They'll get your waist circumference, maybe body fat percentage, But you literally tell them to sit down and stand up, and you have an idea. Yep. Well, they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, I was watching the way that you walked right in the door. Yep. Just by the way that you walk, or the way that you had a little core tilt, whatever it is, like, just those cues, based on your education and everything, like, you're evaluating them from the first step into the building. Yep. And I think going back to it is like, everyone thinks there's this special magic to a fix, when it's not. It's, you have to have that culture. You have, like, if you don't like somewhere, you're not going to go there and give your 100%. No. Like, you got to, like, have that little motivation, because that's a big thing within fitness, is like the motivation factor. It's like, once you get to that point and you reach your goal, like, what's next? Like, I could be training here for 5 years and still squat the same, still do everything. Yep. But the fact that the community here, I don't care about those goals. I care about having this little family over here that I can come to. I can come to you whenever, just personal life, yep. And I think that's a big thing. And yes, it may be hard on the coaches, because I see that within my profession. A lot of it is that psychological aspect. And you get that with what you're paying for your gym membership, and I think people are starting to realize that a lot now, especially after COVID and all this whole mental health crisis within the pharmaceutical side, and realizing, like, we were vacant from people for a year and a half. Yep. We were FaceTiming family. You can't FaceTime family. You need touch. You need physical touch, right? Well, here, I mean, sorry, whatever, but we didn't care. You know, like, we didn't care. Just don't come in with a fever, but, like,
Yeah.
put a mask on, whatever.
Yep.
But it's just, you have that outside world. Like, it's almost like a virtual reality coming in. You know, like, Oxford's bubble is claustrophobic.
It is. That's a good.
The reason why people don't know about this place is because it's private. You know, like, you're only going to let certain people in here because you've evaluated not just their physical ability, but also their personality ability. And if you're a human being and you understand a relationship and how it should be within trust and love and care, you'll fit right in.
That is so crazy that you say that. We are picky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've turned certain people away just because of their personality clash, because we knew they didn't have that teachable learning mindset.
And it's not just with y'all, it's with other clients too.
Right,
like,
exactly.
That's the big thing, is if your clients can't act together, it's just like a baseball team.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just like a baseball team. Like, if you have your 9 starters and 6 of them are having problems because a girlfriend is a problem or whatever, it's going to break down the whole team. Like, It's the same thing here. If your clients aren't having a good relationship, you can't do anything about it. And so, like, you have to be able to pick out the weeds from the stems. Yep,
that is so true. That is so fascinating that you got to that conclusion. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your eating disorder and then where it started. Where'd you actually start noticing it? And just kind of walk us through that process here and where you're at now.
So let's see. So, kind of like short story. So, growing up, I was never really a homebody. I always hung out with friends, or a friend. My best friend, Daniel, I was his best man at his wedding. He's got a little boy. Didn't even meet him until I was playing football in a league, which was the town, like a city, it's Houston, but 15 minutes away in Pasadena. And we were at NRG, and his dad was like one of the chaperones and was taking us home. And I was the only kid that knew how to get home at 9 years old from NRG. And it ended up being 2 streets away from me. And so ever since then, he kind of became my best friend. So, like, ever since I was 9 till about 14, I was at his house every day. You know, if I wasn't spending the night at his house, come home when the street lights are on, type of thing. But my mom, I have 2 older sisters. They're 10 and 12 years older than me.
Wow.
And so kind of growing up, my sister took care of me until she went to college. You know, mom was always working, dad was always working. And so, you know, I'd ride my bike to school, come back home, call my mom on the home line. Hey, I'm home. Or, hey, I'm going to Daniel's house, whatever it is. And then I really didn't eat dinner at home that much. You know, my mom cooked dinner for my sisters growing up, and it kind of made me just that independent person of realizing, like, you know, she was honest with me growing up. You know, I don't want to cook, or I can't cook. You know, I'm clustered with work. Like, she was open, and I'm like, okay, like, at 12 years old, okay,
I'll eat whatever. I'll figure it out.
I got McDonald's money.
Yeah.
I got $4. I'll go get a double cheeseburger and a large fry. Like, can't do that no more though. But you know what I mean. But I think it really started to stem whenever I first started trying to learn to cook myself, which was at 14 years old. And, you know, being an athlete at 14 in high school, I was picking up on varsity team my freshman year, and then started working out at 4:30 in the morning with our pitching coach at the time, and just realizing what it really took to become a high-level athlete. So throughout high school, you know, I had a girlfriend at the time, and her family took care of me. Like, I had breakfast and lunch and dinner. You know, dinners mostly throughout the week, and then lunch and breakfast and lunch on the weekends. And, you know, eating disorder wasn't really kicking in then until I went to junior college. And that's when social media started coming alive. I started realizing how much nutrition played with, you know, physical abilities. And, dude, I remember being on MyFitnessPal in junior college and eating like 1,700 calories. And
well, first, before you go there, tell them how tall you are and the weight you were at for 1,700 calories, roughly.
So, I mean, I'm a late bloomer.
Yeah,
I guess you can say. My senior year, I was 5'9", 5'9.5", and was 5'11" over the summer.
Holy cow! So you grew a lot.
Yeah.
Because that helps the contact. Because 1,700 calories guy for a 5'11" guy is not that much.
Yeah. I mean, my resting metabolic rate was probably like 2,300, 2,200. But also we called it Clay Cox concentration camp. And like, no disrespect at all. And I know he knows this, but there wasn't that much skill coaching involved at Paris. Like, we had a guy, Luke Bay, who bought into what's called Driveline, which is a baseball company, analytics, biomechanics lab, and they have a pitching program, and we followed that. So my friend at the time on the team, we started following the program that he found out that was like a year old, and now it's the highest growing and highest paid lab for baseball there is.
Holy cow.
But we also had some like assistant coaches that came in and out that worked with mostly hitters. We didn't actually get a pitching coach until the second year after I was gone. So it took 3 years to get like a true pitching coach for the guys. But yeah, I mean, our warm up was called the Big Loop, which was 2 miles. We'd have to be back on Sundays at 8 p.m. to get a circuit training in. Started practice at 11:30, and we practiced till like 4. In Paris, Texas, is hot as heck. But I mean, my thermic effect of physical activity was probably another 1,500. But I mean, I was lean. I didn't think that, but I mean, I was lean. I was pretty strong. But I ate, but it was just like wasn't enough. Like, I was timid around food, but like if we went out to eat at the barbecue joint, I'd get a 3-meat plate and save half of it just to savor food because of the struggle of eating. Like, I didn't eat in the cafeteria that much because the food wasn't good, so I was cooking in the dorm. I had like a little skillet. I'd make pancakes on the skillet. We had a grill in the back that we grill steaks, grill chicken and sausage and stuff. So, you had to live, like you had to go through it. Not everybody had the high level of junior college like we did. Like, we didn't have that, So I think it kind of started there. And then I really started getting into like the physical body dysmorphia type deal where I wasn't really focusing on how I was playing anymore. I was focused on like how my body started looking. And then that's when I got into the nutrition and started realizing what calories are and started counting calories and everything. But then that was kind of throughout JUCO, and I was 5'11". The highest I ever weighed in junior college was 197, but I floated around that 192 range. And then I come to Oxford my first year, first weigh-in was like 180 pounds. And so like within the summer, like I remember having a picture playing summer ball before getting here, and it was like my summer cut or something like that. And I dropped 10 pounds over the summer. And like, let alone I was a right-handed pitcher and a third baseman. I was throwing 83 miles an hour, but like I would throw strikes and I'd get people out somehow. Thank you. But then, I kind of realized like once I got here, like weight, they really prided on weight. Like, we weighed in twice a week, and I didn't like it. Like, I even had to talk with my coach. I was like, I can't look at the scale because I'm already doing it at home. Every time I wake up, I do it right before bed. And so I got like weight conscious about trying to be in this so-called thought good range of 180 pounds at 6 foot, where you can see abs, where you can, see some veins, some vascularity. But then it just progressively got worse, getting here, not having that bond like I did in junior college, kind of feeling secluded. The only thing that I can focus on was myself. And the only thing that I couldn't control if I was getting a starting spot. I couldn't control if I was going to get innings that year. I can control my weights, like my body weight. Mm-hmm. I can control what I can lift in the weight room. And those two things adapted to nutrition. And so, dude, I counted calories. I was eating the same freaking thing every single day, but I still had to put it in MyFitnessPal. And so it was like conscious cycle of like, I need to know. It's the only thing I can control. And so it kind of just floated around there. I played my first year here at 180. My goal weight was 190. Like at the time, we didn't really have a like specific baseball sports dietitian due to like employment jobs or something. I don't really know the whole situation, but now, I mean, getting into the profession I am now in doctorate in nutrition, like, dude, our sports dietetic is awesome. Like, she's on top of it. And I tell her all the time, I was like, man, I wish you were here when I was here. You would have helped me out so much. And she still helps me out today, because I've told her my testimony within the eating disorder. I'll kind of get into that later, but yeah, so kind of moving forward, you know, I think that's what led to the injuries was that malnutrition. You know, my tendons, my ligaments, they couldn't keep up with how much my muscles were being used, and that's what kind of led to those injuries. I feel like, or I know that obviously in the overtraining aspect, because I would work out with baseball, then I'd do my own workout, you know, at the gym in the mornings or at night, you know, so I was double training on top of a 3-hour practice, you know, on my feet throughout those 3 hours, plus the pitching that I'm doing, the daily throwing I'm doing. And so it was just that control factor, and just kind of progressively got worse, and then ended up tearing my UCL my senior year in the spring. Had arm problems in the fall, came back in the spring. The week before season, tore my UCL. And I was still around that 180 range, 185 range. I remember texting our strength coach 3 days after Thanksgiving, hey, I'm 189. And he was like, fuck yeah. Or
Yeah.
He was like, hell yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And me, I wasn't. I was like, oh no. But I wanted to portray that, you know, I'm doing good. And so, like, man, I was given mass gainer protein powder. I was given, you know, you need to eat this before bed. I never did it, you know. I was scared, you know. I was scared to overconsume calories because I thought it was going to make me fat, or I thought it was going to make me slow or not throw as hard. But the biggest thing that I realize now is how much it affected me mentally. And I see that after my master's degree. Kind of flashing a little bit back, but like after my surgery, my super senior year, I played at 173 to 176 pounds at 6 foot. And like I go back through pictures looking at myself there, and you can just see like in my arms just like how lean I was. And we didn't have the DEXA scanners that we do now. We had bod pods, which is a little bit more skewed. And I was probably about 10% body fat. And that's really, really lean for a baseball player. Like really lean. You know, that threshold to be a professional pitcher is around 18%.
Yes.
So I'm cutting close to half of that percentage. And I was 89, 91 miles an hour pitcher, but I was a competitor. So, like, I didn't let, you know, that's what made me successful. So I finished off the season around 175. And I was in the midst of an eating disorder, like still tracking calories. Like I wouldn't eat at the cafeteria. Like I had to cook my own food every single time, which took up a lot of time. And so it was just trying to control that aspect. Took me away from my relationships of teammates, of, you know, friends and everything like that. And I didn't have that social aspect of life throughout college. But the eating disorder, whenever I truly figured out that I had an eating disorder, was when baseball ended. Right when baseball ended, I was like, dang, like I'm acting like I'm a bodybuilder trying to play baseball. Like I feel like I've been cutting for a show for 2 years.
Wow.
So going through my master's degree that first year, ended up shaving my head. I was like, I need something new. Like identity crisis. Like after the baseball identity within me, starting school again with no baseball, doing these clinical rotations, trying to figure out what kind of workout program I want to do now and not training like an athlete. Within a year, man, I was 175, 176, and actually June 22nd of 2022, I graduated May in 21. So from May of 21 to June of 22, the lowest weight that I ever saw on that day was 146.8.
Wow. Do you know your body fat percentage?
I did a bod pod and I had to do it 3 times because it could not pick it up. And it ended up coming out at 1.8%.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Scary time. My mom, she was scared. Because at the time, that October of 21, that October when I first started, I remember calling my mom, like having these panic attacks, like crying out of nowhere, you know, like stress, like did not know what my life was. So I ended up going seeing a psychiatrist and got put on a very strong depression medication, and was also diagnosed with ADHD, and that has a lot of play with it too, ADHD. Always fidgeting. I didn't know that. Like, I remember people would always tell me, like, Tyler, you don't sit down, you don't stop moving. I'm like, okay. Like, whenever I pitched in the SEC tournament against Vanderbilt, my athletic trainer had to sit over my shoulder for me not to move in between innings, because I would have wasted way too much energy, because he already knew I was malnourished. Yeah. Which was kind of funny, but I mean, it was cool. But yeah, getting down to 146 in the morning, right when I woke up, and I was home at the time in Houston. And my mom, I can see it in her eyes, I can hear the tone in her voice, and she thought I was ill, like not mentally ill, like physically ill. And that tone from your mama is the biggest heartbreaker ever. Like, that was freaking tough. For your mother to be scared of your health is freaking hard. Yeah. Especially after 5 years of like realizing what I'm doing to my body. That was hard, dude. That was really hard. So I ended up going to get a complete blood count, like check everything, and like red blood cell count, white blood cell count was very negative. My testosterone levels was in the 70s, and you want that way higher. I mean, I didn't have any type of sexual drive for over a year. I wouldn't wake up with a morning erection. Didn't talk to any females. I didn't talk to anybody. Wouldn't even talk to my family, because I was so freaking focused on food and doing my schoolwork, like whatever that had to do with it. But my life surrounded around food. Like, getting meals with baseball, I would not eat because I didn't know how many calories were in it. And so like I had to cook everything. It was that control factor, right? Like I had to cook everything, know what's going in there, know what oils are going in there. Like I went through phases of like no dairy, no bread, no this, no that. Looking at, you know, little mini ingredients like sucralose or something, and thinking that's the baddest thing in the world. So it was these little like fad diets that you would go through and put your body through, and sending it into a complete stress response. And getting down to that weight after seeing my blood test results, I didn't even tell myself I needed a change. Some motor neurons up here switched that restrictive eating disorder and said, hey, you got to binge eat. So I started binge eating for the whole next year. And sometimes, like, I haven't had an episode in a while, but, you know, I would substance abuse with marijuana, and that also was a trigger. You know, that was a stress response of trying to relieve some type of stress in my life or whatever the case it may have been. But, you know, within the binge eating disorder and the substance abuse and stuff, like, it honestly, like, I'm thankful for it. And, like, to have gratitude in something that people think is so negative or so detrimental to your life that can hurt you, I have gratitude for it. Because now I'm 6'1", I'm 200 pounds, or 194. I lost 5 pounds within the past 2 weeks, but that's a different story. That's not because of eating disorder or anything like that. That's just my timing and not being prepared. But yeah, man, like I took probably 6 months off from weight training, just because I knew that was something that I was addicted to. Like I was weight training more so how many calories I can eat, because I burned it. I had a Whoop band for a long time. I always tracked my sleep. You know what the Whoop is? The heart, like the technology tracking. And so it tracks like your strain of the day. So how much intent you put into your day, your sleep, and it gives you this calorie content of how many you burn. And technology is not accurate. Even how high tech it is not completely 1000% accurate. And so, like, dude, on that thing, it says I was burning like 4,500 calories a day, and I was eating 2,000 still.
Wow.
You know, I was taking a 30-minute ruck walk in the mornings. I was going into clinical, standing on my feet for 7 hours, 8 hours a day. Then I would go work out for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then I'd come home and I'd eat dinner, and then I'd take another 10, 15, 20-minute walk. So being on your feet for 10 hours a day, like, I needed to be eating 6,000 calories, you know, before the binge eating had started. But the binge eating started, and it's different. Everybody has a different experience with binge eating. I was so used to eating these health foods, in quotations, like protein bars, you know, energy bars. So, like, I started just binging on those, like Cliff bars, Quest bars, whatever the heck it may have been. And, you know, I'd wake up and, like, start seeing the scale move on, and I'd chunk that thing. Like, I immediately chunked the scale, and I said, I cannot do this no more. Like, I can't. I was so addicted. It was such a habitual thing every morning and every night to weigh myself just to see what I could eat that day, because that number on that scale dictated what I could eat that day. Like, if it was up a pound, I would not eat. If it was down a pound, I would eat a little bit more. And so, like, that, the scales are, I hate scales. I mean, it's a tool. It's not your life. It's a tool. I understand that. And I do weigh myself sometimes, but only when I know I need to. And so having that balance is great now. Like, I don't have one in my house. The only time I use it is at the facility. And, but yeah, and then the binge eating continued. It started getting into, like, these sugary things like cookies, cakes, anything I can get my hands on. And it was that complete just emptiness in my stomach. Like, I didn't eat a lot of sugar. Your body needs sugar for energy. Like, sugar is not bad to an extent, you know? And so it continued. It was a cycle. It was at least 5 times a week, like, just binging the night before. I'd sit on my recliner and just eat something, go into the cabinet, get something else. Eat something, go into the cabinet and get something else. And it was tough because we had a nutrition center at baseball, and I'd take like 5 bars at night, take them home. The night that I didn't eat, I still had 5 from the night before, so I had 10, you know? And so it just continued, and then I'd go to insomnia, and I'd get a whole 12-pack of cookies and eat it, or I'd, like, but dude, like, now I'm glad it happened. I'm so glad it happened, because I know what it is like if I ever have to be with a client that's gone through it, similar to the baseball aspect with athletic training. But it was tough, dude. Like, I hate looking at pictures of myself. And during that eating disorder of extreme restriction, I took a picture of my body every day, just thinking that something's changing. Ain't nothing changing. You can't see progress in one day. If you're eating a double Big Mac at McDonald's, no one's gonna see the way that you look after eating that. Now, if you eat that for a continuous of 3 months, yeah, you know, you're putting in so many more calories than what you're burning. But it was that body dysmorphia. I need to look a certain way, and I never really compared myself to anybody else.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part.
That's the thing, is, like, I didn't watch these videos of bodybuilders or anything like that. Like, I thought that was kind of gross, but, like, I think it was just this internal demon inside of me of, what can I do to make myself better? How can I do something that I can take a hold of, you know? And so, I mean, taking pictures every day of my body. I think I showed you a picture last time. Like, dude,
we'll post it on the video. So if you're okay with that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I hate it because I know people are going to be like, wow, goals, but not goals, man. Not goals.
Amen.
As much as activity that I'm doing, I know it may not be as much as somebody that is going to be watching this or hearing this, but dude, that, not just my physical body hurt, but like going through my master's degree, I don't remember my master's degree. I don't remember the education that I learned, you know, because my mind was not focused on school. It was not focused on love. It was not focused on relationship. It wasn't healthy. My focus was on food, and food only, and working out. That's what controlled my life. And I thought I was controlling it, but it was controlling me. And so, like, that is, I know, don't live with regrets, but that is a regret that I have, because it's still a struggle that I have right now with trying to still pass my certification exam for athletic training. And it's like, I'm having to relearn everything from those past 2 years within this time of, hey, I took the test. All right, I got 2 more months. Let me try to learn 2 years in 2 months. You can't learn 2 years in 2 months. Like, you simply cannot. And so that's like one of the battles I'm trying to struggle right now is like, yeah, it sucks that it happened, but why did it happen? He told me to. He's letting me learn something in a different manner, in a different way, a different pace than everybody else that I was with in my class. A different pace. Everybody else has got jobs. Well, I have a GA position, you know. Then I get the opportunity of teaching now. I'm working with athletes, and like, there's athletes that I can communicate to really well because of my history, you know, and that's what kind of makes me like in a really good position of like, I don't need to make money right now. Like, I'm blessed with having this educational scholarship to pursue my nutrition degree, which I thought was going to be terrible, because I'm like, why am I going to school for nutrition if I just had an eating disorder for the past 5 years? But it's honestly really cool because I'm able to like actually learn the adaptability of nutrition. Like, nutrition is different for everybody, just like exercise. Everybody needs something different. You could be type 1 or type 2 diabetic, you know. You could be anorexic. You could be overweight and still have some type of anorexic symptoms. You know, like, somebody can eat a dozen donuts. Oh, and that was another thing. I freaking love donuts. Oh my God. I got this little punch card from Community Donuts. Bad choice. Bad choice. It was like 2 months straight, dude, of like every Sunday go get a dozen donuts, and that's my meal.
Oh my gosh.
I remember one time, it was around my birthday that year. I bought a dozen donuts, and I probably ate about 9 of them. I went to that pizza shop on the square, and I got cheesecake. I got 2 cheesecakes. Ate that. And then I think I proceeded to eat something else at that night. And I was like, dude, you probably just consumed like 400 grams of sugar.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But, I mean, it's awesome, dude. It is so cool to be like, dude, I was eating that, yet physically I was still moving, you know?
Yeah.
But the things that sucks and the things that people don't realize is what it does to your brain. Like, that's the biggest muscle right here, because that controls your emotions, it controls your moods. And what do those control? Those control your relationships, those control your concentration. Like, I could not concentrate because I was so focused on what my next intake of calories was going to be. And so, I mean, it's a whirlwind of a cycle or whatever. It's just, yeah.
It's crazy too that you say that about the brain too, how many calories the brain actually burns. A lot of people don't realize how many calories the brain burns for it being so small, but burn that many calories.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. And I don't know if you heard this, or maybe you're learning about this in school, but the U.S. is the only country that calls dementia. All the other countries call it type 3 diabetes.
Type 3.
And the reason why they're saying type 3 is they're not losing their brain. They're losing access to their brain. And it's majority of the people who have dementia, they're starting to notice a trend and a history of people having eating disorders without them even knowing.
Yeah.
They barely eat just enough to keep them alive. And most people who have dementia are not fat.
Yeah.
And so that's been it's like the opposite of obesity.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to,
I guess I had type 3 diabetes for 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you forgot.
Yeah.
And you weren't having access to your brain, and that's your brain will start shutting things down to survive.
I mean, you say that, and like, kind of looking back at pictures throughout that time, I'm like, I don't even remember taking this picture. Like I vaguely remember my life of where I lived in Keystone condominiums. Barely.
Yep.
Like, I couldn't even tell you like where my furniture was like placed, you know. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and there's a doctor out. She went to, I believe, Stanford or Harvard. Her name's Casey, and she's pushing really hard for the quality of food that we have is really bad.
Yeah.
And you probably know more about it than I do, but it's like, for instance, McDonald's fries here have about 10 more ingredients in them than in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the ingredients are not even listed on the labels now because the FDA is not just living up to what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so it's getting pretty scary, but long story short is they're actually going to Congress now, and they've already had multiple meetings, and they are pushing hard. Jordan Peterson's in on it. Like, there's a whole bunch of these high, just known people that are just wizards, like in the psychology department to the medical field to the nutrition field, all of it. And so it's been pretty fascinating that you say that, and how it almost affirms like all the things that I'm learning through your story.
Yeah. I mean, it was a blur. Those 2 years in my master's degree were a blur. I'll tell you this one about that too. So we were doing a spine boarding. It's called an OSCE, so like a live reenactment of doing spine boarding. So for those people that don't know, if you're out there on the football field and somebody has a head injury, you got to make sure they're cervical, like they don't have a cervical injury.
So
you're
that's
gonna have
top
to
of the
spine
neck.
board them, right? Yep. And this is it's going to take multiple members. You're going to at least need 4 to 6 people for this event for you to spine board somebody before EMS gets there. I blacked out.
Huh.
Not because I was stressed about what I was doing about school. Nothing in my body. I blacked out. My professor said, "You need to go home." And my professor, he's now my academic advisor. He's like my uncle. That was scary. Because that was another shocker to me, like going through my master's. Because I think that was my second semester, so January of 22, so like 6 months right before my lowest ever weigh-in that I've ever had. Yeah, man, I literally blacked out and tumbled over.
Wow.
Yeah, and left. Had to leave.
It's interesting too, like hearing your story, I look back, I blacked out some of the things that, not actually black out, but almost forgot some of the things that I was going through school. And when I was doing CrossFit at the time during college, and kind of lost my identity through sports too, and had double surgery, had two surgeries back to back, and going through the same thing, but I was going through college. And I was training so much and wasn't getting as near amount of calories, and I was always hurt. And I couldn't remember things.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so fascinating with the tie with your story. And then you actually reminded me, like, dang, I don't really remember. That's why I struggled with school so much. I couldn't study. I didn't have enough fuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. So do you feel like binge eating actually saved your life to get you started to get back food?
Yeah. I'm comfortable with food.
Yeah.
I was here for 5 years in Oxford. And the best pizza in this place is Funky's Pizza. Never had it.
Wow.
The whole time I was in Oxford, 5 years. You know how many times I've had that place within the past 2 years? Dude, I probably have Funky's Pizza at least twice a week.
That's awesome.
And I don't care.
Yeah. This is so freeing.
What is it gonna do to me?
Yeah.
I need it.
Yep.
It's just food. Like that's very bland. I'm sorry. It's not just food, but it's a calorie.
Yeah.
A calorie is energy.
Yep.
And how do you burn a calorie? Breathing. Sitting here, not moving, you're gonna burn calories.
Yep.
Everyone thinks it's gonna be this physical activity type motion or whatever. Or having to go to the gym, or having to do this. Like, you're burning calories just breathing.
Yep.
Like, what is 2 slices of Funky's Pizza that's going to equal 700 calories going to do to me?
Yep.
make me study harder.
Yeah.
Make me actually learn.
Yeah.
Feed my brain. Like, I've been 200 to 205 for 14 months now.
Wow.
And once school started a week before my birthday, so that first week of school, what was that? August 22nd, August 26th, whatever it was, to now, no, September 26th, 25th, I'm 194. I was 194 yesterday. I know my eating habits right now. Like, I'm just snacking a little bit more. Like, I haven't gone to the grocery store the whole time I've been here since school started. It's just trying to manage my time.
Yeah.
This new schedule that I have of, I just haven't.
It's busy.
I haven't figured it out yet, you know.
Yeah.
And I hadn't stepped on the scale since I got back to Oxford. So 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know what my weight was. But the reason why I did was because I started feeling my stomach hormones a lot more. I started feeling a lot more hungrier. I was getting more anxious easier. I was getting a little bit more agitated. And I was like, let me check my weight. And I was 194. So within 3-4 weeks, I've lost close to 10 pounds. And I'm like, oh, that's it. And so what did I do? I made sure, hey, these past 4 nights, I went to South Depot and I said, can I please get 6 scoops of steak on my burrito? $18 burrito? Okay. But it's going to help me.
That's right.
Like, money is not everything. Like, I have it, so let me use it.
Yep.
Because it's going to make me this. And I was still hungry in the morning. And I didn't just have my Fairlife protein shake with coffee and have my 4 energy oat balls that equaled to 600 calories right after that. I was like, I need something this morning. I was like, I have to.
Yep.
So I had like one of these little, what do they call it? Like protein, like it was the flapjack.
Yep. Flapjack pancakes.
Yes, in the muffin cups.
Yes.
I was like, all right. Made that, and I put a big scoop of peanut butter on it. And I was like, all right, I'm good.
Yep.
Because whenever I started teaching in the mornings at 9, so I do a protein shake with coffee in it.
I didn't even think about that. You're using your brain so much for teaching.
Yeah.
So you're burning a crap load of calories.
Yeah. And this class is new. Like, I don't have any lecture slides. I don't have any tests. I don't have any quizzes.
You got to do a lot of brain power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And so, like, usually my morning routine is I do a Fairlife protein shake. So I get 20 grams of protein in there, 170 calories, and I have this coffee concentrate. And I'll just sip on that because it kind of makes me a little full, you know. Caffeine stimulates your appetite, but also I'm getting at least something in my body. But I can tell whenever I was teaching, like, I was shaking. And I wasn't nervous. Like, I can talk to 25 students like it's nothing.
Move the mic a little closer. Oh. You're good.
I was like, I can talk to 25 students like it's nothing. But, like, I was literally, like, shaking. I was like, dude, something's wrong. I was like, you're not just nervous. You're not just anxious. Like,
you're hungry.
Yeah. And so I just made it a point to, like, hey, bro, you need to eat. And so I went to Chipotle last night and I got double steak and guac on the side. I was like, I need fats, higher calorie content. And then I had pizza that night. Like,
yeah. Isn't that, and it's so crazy too, like having that be that intuitive. People forget like how emotional food is for your system to be able to function.
Mm-hmm.
That is just so fascinating to me as the more and more I talk to you and like the hunger cues that you describe and feeling and anxiety and the shakiness and the blacking out, like those are all like your check engine lights of you're like, all right, I need to eat more.
Yeah. And it's not just like the cravings. It's not like, ooh, I want a cookie. I'm
so glad you distinguish that. Tell people the difference between the craving and what you're feeling. Because a lot of people don't realize that. It's not a craving.
No, it's not. It's the physiological feelings that are way more important. Like, there's so many myths out there. Like, I've heard if you're craving sugar, go brush your teeth. Like, okay, 15 minutes later, that toothpaste and fluorine's going to be out your system and you're going to want that cookie again. Like, if you want a cookie, go eat a cookie. Just be cognitive of how much you're going to eat it. But if you're having those symptoms of, like, starting to feel your heart race a little more, or you're getting cold really easily all the time, that's a big one whenever I was super skinny. Or just extreme mental fatigue, tired all the time, can't concentrate, task paralysis. those are your warning signs. Like you said, your check engine lights, like you have a flat tire, dude. Like you need to change that thing.
Yep.
Like let's get into a new rhythm. Let's change those tires. Let's get a rotation. Like you got to figure it out. And if you're craving a cookie, go eat that cookie, man.
That's right.
Go enjoy it, man. Enjoy it.
Talk about how your roommate played a big part of your life. You said that there was
He's a country boy.
A country boy that played, that made
he's from Coldwater, Mississippi. Okay, so he was corn fed. I mean, he didn't care what he ate. He wasn't the brightest kid. He wasn't the brightest student. But he is a dude, like loving dude. And when we first started living together, we both knew what our faults were. I was too hard on myself, and he was not hard enough on himself. Right when I moved in with him, I said, if you ever catch me wearing this whoop again, this isn't a whoop, this is my watch. But if you catch me wearing this whoop again, you better punch me in my face and kick me in my nuts.
Yep.
Because I can't.
Yeah.
Because if I do, I'm going to fall back into that trap. And so just living with him, and you know, we'd get meals from baseball. I started eating that. So that helped me first. But then, like, instead of me cooking all my meals, I would go sit in my room and not watch him cook. Because if I watched him cook, I would be like, oh, shit, like he's putting olive oil in food.
Right.
Like, I was scared of olive oil. Like,
yeah.
So, bro, I was eating hamburger helper every night. I was having Pillsbury biscuits with eggs, cheese, and bacon on it and buttered up. I was eating ice cream at night, like, and he would know, like, he could tell. He can tell the way that I was acting. He can tell when I was getting scared to eat or when my mood was off, and he knew that correlated to an eating disorder, because you got to be open and honest with them. Like, anybody that you live with, like, I struggled with my roommates those first 2 years. And then living with him, with just me and him, I was like, I was honest. I told him what I needed as a roommate, as a friend, and as a teammate. I was like, this is what I need from you. Yeah. And I didn't even have to tell him what he needed. He knew off the bat. He was like, you do the same for me. You already know, bro. I was like, all right, bet.
That's awesome.
Like, so we would literally sit there and be like, all right, it's homework time. And I'm like, you better do at least 30 minutes or get that assignment done. Then you can go hop in the game. Yeah. You know, or any just little things like that. Or like, you know, if I told him, yeah, my weight's low today, he's like, all right, Dairy Queen. Yep. Or Cookout. Yeah. We're going to get ice cream. And so, like, that was just our routine. And so, like, I kept him accountable within the house, and he kept me accountable within the house. You know, it's having that brotherhood, and his family is my Mississippi family.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, and then I moved right across the street by myself, and then, whoop, downhill.
Really?
Yeah, that's when I started, like, because that was my super senior year, and then I went into my master's.
Got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was good my super senior year.
Yeah. Wow. Now, I think it's so important to let people know who are struggling with the eating disorder, whether you're male or female, that especially males, you cannot be, if you're trying to add weight to your system, and you can speak more about this than I can, don't be picky on what food you eat. No. You just need to get the calories in, because you're not getting enough anyway. Yeah. And usually sugar is the easiest on the stomach. Yeah.
It goes through the system fast. Yep. And you're energized. Yep. No, I mean, it really does not matter. I mean, look at a bodybuilder's diet trying to eat 3,000 calories versus a normal citizen eating 3,000 calories. This man's going to have to eat, or this woman's going to have to eat 6 meals a day, because they're so structured with eating about 400 calories to 600 calories a meal. Whereas one person can go eat 2 meals a day, a breakfast and a dinner, and have the same amount of calories. They could train the exact same. And yes, he may be leaner just a tad bit quicker, but longevity-wise, health-wise, mental-wise, like if you listen to any type of bodybuilder out there, the biggest thing that they're going to say, eating. Yep. Hardest thing. Cutting for a show, those 16 weeks, they hate their lives. Yep. Hate it. Their body hurts, everything. Mentally, they don't have a social life. They can't go out. Like, they can't do anything because it's so structured to this 1 2-minute show that they're about to do. So you're going 16 weeks for 2 minutes. Whereas this person's going not even 16 weeks. Let's just say 2 years. And we'll be in the same place but happier, have friends and things like that. Be able to do things outside of just cooking your meals and eating it. But Yeah. What was it kind of a question?
No, yeah, you answered it.
Okay.
No, you completely answered it. It was talking about that, and then you went through it even to a deeper level. But it was just about, hey, don't be so picky when you
Yeah.
eat.
I mean, that's the biggest thing here. Like
You just gotta get the calories.
and especially within athletes, dude, it's this whole sports nutrition aspect. I've realized it now to where even in academics, it doesn't talk about the type of foods. It talks more about like the minerals, vitamins, and, you know, the process of it going through your system. Yes. But you're not sitting there saying healthy food and not healthy food. There is no healthy and not healthy food. What is your energy needs? Energy, it comes from calories. Calories comes from foods. So you can eat a double cheeseburger from Walk-Ons.
Yep.
You need it. You just burn 1,000 calories at practice, right? Or a big thing is like these zero sugar hydration drinks. Zero sugar hydration drinks. Your body needs sugar to be hydrated. Your body also needs potassium, sodium, and magnesium.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the salt.
Yeah,
The
salt,
bad rep
dude.
for some reason.
Salt.
I don't know why. Salt's huge.
Oh,
Game changer.
1,000 milligrams of salt. Okay. Yes, if you're sedentary, yeah, that might be problematic. Or if you have a chronic disease or family history of a certain disease, yeah, 1,000% be cautious. But I'm sweating here just talking sometimes,
That's right.
you know?
And you're losing salt.
Yeah. You know, my body heat, like physical activity can lead up to 80% of your thermogenic effect. But do you know how long you have to work out at a 75% intent to have 80% of your calories be lost through physical activity? 8 to 10 hours straight.
Isn't that crazy?
Longer than 2 marathons for 80% of your caloric intake to be burned just through physical activity. We normally burn around 15 to 20%.
Talk about I can't even say it now.
Thermogenic?
Yes, thermogenics.
So
that way that they know what you're talking about.
So thermogenic effect. So you have your resting metabolic rate. So your resting metabolic rate, if I was to sit on this couch for 24 hours straight, not moving, not talking, still and complacent, based on your body mass and your muscle mass, you get a certain amount of calories. That calories is the amount that your body is burning. And
at rest.
At rest, complete rest. Then you also have the thermogenic effect from food, which is about 10 to 15%. And then you have your thermogenic effect from physical activity. So those three components.
Good. I'm glad because a lot of people don't understand that. It plays a huge role.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you broke that down.
I mean, everybody has Apple Watches today, and whenever I wore the Whoop, right before I wore the Whoop, I was wearing the girlfriend at the time, her Apple Watch, and trying to see how many calories I was burning. And the amount of calories that I was burning on an Apple Watch was literally cut in half compared to what the Whoop was.
Really?
Yep. Insane. I mean, it said I was burning like maybe 900 to 1,100 calories. That was through a practice, through school, like everything. Wow. And they may have gotten better. I mean, that was
you're the third person who's told me that.
But you know,
they said Apple doesn't. It's not even close to what the Whoop says.
It does track heart rate really well, though. The heart rate is pretty accurate compared to like the Whoop or the Oura Ring or a Polar.
Yeah.
It is pretty accurate. I have I guess you can say colleague and friend. She's a GA as well in the sports exercise department. And she was a soccer athlete, and they wore the Polar system. So it's a heart rate tracking monitor that's worn right on the chest, just right on the sternum, closest to the heart. You know, the Apple Watch is on the top of your arm rather than getting the radial pulse, so a little less accurate. But she tracked heart rate and distance. And heart rate and distance were very close together. But the calories burned were not.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see it everyone has an Apple Watch. They try to close the rings or whatever it is. And it's one of those things you got to take with a grain of salt. Yes, you can use it as a consistency aspect, but don't believe it, especially if it's calories, because you can believe it based on getting a body scan, DEXA scan, the most accurate. It's going to skew it is around 2%. If you get a body scan you can see what your resting metabolic rate, and then base your physical activity and your resting metabolic rate, base your calorie content off of that. If you can do that, it can be a little expensive, but if you have the accessibility, that's the way you need to go. Do not trust what that is. But you can use it as a tool, meaning, hey, if my Apple Watch is telling me I'm burning 1,000 calories a day, and I know I'm eating around 2,000 calories a day, and I'm losing weight at a pound per week, let me bump up my calories 500 per week.
That's a good estimate for 1 pound.
Yeah, 500 calories is about a pound. Per day. 500 extra calories per day. But if you're seeing that you've burned, like if you're on average burning 1,000 calories a day, and you're maintaining your weight, and one day you have 500 calories burned on your Apple Watch, then you know, like, hey, I'm not as physically active today. Maybe I don't need that little extra snack throughout my day.
Yep.
So using it as a tool to base what you're consuming is.
Yeah.
That's what you need to understand, and not just focus on the number and correlate that to a negative habit.
What do you think about the Oura Ring?
I think it's cool.
I
like it. It's a fashionable thing.
Have you tried it?
No, but I have. We have an athletic trainer on staff that wears it, and I think it is really good for women tracking menstrual cycles.
Huh.
It's been studied that it's really pretty accurate to knowing when your menstrual cycle is going to happen and the ins and outs and flows of your energy, detecting those too. Now, it takes time for it to be able to adapt to you as well, but I mean, menstrual cycle and fitness is a whirlwind of a loophole. I mean, mad respect for women. I don't know how y'all ladies do it, but I mean, you have to train so differently than men based on your menstrual cycle.
Yep. It's crazy because I posted actually, and you've seen the post on six pack doesn't necessarily equal health on my Instagram, and it's almost close on 1 million views. Mm-hmm. And the pushback that I got from all the keyboard warriors out there of saying how that I had posted between 19 to 30% is pretty general from a meta-analysis is a general idea of where women potentially should be, majority population. And the pushback I got and how much men and women on there were saying that it needs to be way lower. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that. But that's the culture that we're in. They think that because you have a visible 6-pack, that automatically equals health.
I had a visible 8-pack. No, you do not need a 6-pack. I mean, look at some of the strongest, fastest athletes out there. Yeah, they're lean, but look how much muscle they have on them. That's because they have a 6-pack.
Yep.
Your abs is muscle.
It grows.
It grows, dude. Like, if you're gonna train your core, it's gonna be bigger.
Yep.
You don't need this like small weight as an athlete, but like it is amazing. And take an offensive lineman, for instance, that is 350 pounds. They're not worried about a 6-pack.
Nope.
But is their metabolic health healthy? Probably, most likely, yeah, because they wouldn't be able to handle all that stress, all that contact.
Man.
No, everything in their complete blood count is probably really, really good.
Yep.
But they're 350 pounds at 6'5".
It's crazy.
Now, of course, you can't do that if you have a sedentary desk job. But
right.
That's just an example of you don't have to have a 6-pack. This is a funny story. So I was going to the South Rec yesterday, right? And I was dressed up in my work clothes, and I had my clothes with me, and I went into the locker room. Normally, I don't go into the locker room, but there was 2 dudes flexing in the mirror, and he was about 6 foot, probably about 185 pounds, maybe $190, and he's talking with his friend. He's like, well, "How many days do you train arms?" And then he made another comment. I was like, "Bro, you don't have to train arms. I can't tell you last time I specifically trained arms."
Yep.
But and then he made the comment. He's like, "I really want to cut down to 175." And this guy is already lean. You can already see he's got some visible abs. He's got some vascularity, and you want to cut down 10 pounds. You know what I told him? I said, "Hey man, we don't need little boy syndrome." I said, "Be a man, grow some muscle."
Yeah.
get to 200 and then cut back down to what your weight is right now, and I bet you're going to be very satisfied.
Absolutely.
And you're going to be moving some weight, and you're going to be looking good for the women that you're trying to impress.
Yep. At least do it the healthy way.
Yes. Like, I mean, that's kind of how I was. Like I said, I was 13 months at 205, and those first couple months of being at 205, yes, I was probably about 25% body fat.
Yeah.
But the DEXA scan that I got, like, I was back down to like 18, 17%
Which
body
is
fat.
so healthy, man.
At 205.
Yeah.
And I deadlifted. I did a max one day after a very stressful relationship situation. I deadlifted, and I was 200 pounds at the time, and this was probably 2 months ago, and I deadlifted 475. In October of 21 or October of 22, whenever I was 160 pounds, my deadlift was 305.
Wow.
And I didn't train after that October for 4 months.
Yeah.
I didn't start training until February, January the next year. So within 6 months of training again, after being 205 at 25% body fat, and then kind of at this weight that I'm at now, and leanness, pulling 475, dude, that's 150-pound difference.
That's crazy.
Training for 6-7 months. Like, it's not like I was, and that was like the longest deload non-training cycle I've ever done in my life. And so, of course, those adaptations are going to come back fast.
Yep.
But it just amazed me just how, I mean, you saw the video, like how well it moved.
Dude,
that
really
thing,
good.
it was hard. Don't get me wrong.
But
It was really hard. But it's just amazing. Like, dude, that would have broke my bones in half.
Yep.
Like, terribly. Like, I remember squatting 225 at that weight, and it was like a 8 RPE for 6-8 reps, and then like throw 315 on for power, you know, on a squat. And it's like, get muscular, eat whatever the hell you want, and then control a little bit at a time.
Yep.
Slowly. Take away one little thing or decrease one little thing.
Yep.
That's all it is. And a lot of it has to do with like this stress hormone later at night when you decompress after work or after school, and it's like you're sitting there on the couch watching TV, so you get into this mindless eating habit or not eating habit.
Yeah.
And so it's just trying to be that intuitive to what lights are blinking green, what lights are blinking yellow, you know, trying to understand, do you feel hunger hormones? I didn't feel hunger hormones for 5 freaking years. And then now I hear my stomach.
Yeah, yeah.
I literally hear it. Like, I hear it in my brain. It's like ding, ding, ding. Like, all right, here we go. Let me go slug a Fairlife real quick
crazy.
just to get something before I can get food. Like, I'll drink a 200-calorie shake before I go get dinner now just because I know how hungry I am.
Wow.
So it's like, you just have to, it's girling, you know, when you don't eat, it gets confused.
Yep.
And then when you do eat, it's confused still. And so, yeah, it's just having a little bit of accurate knowledge, and what you can do to do it. I mean, everyone's in a different circumstance. Everyone may not have access to what other people have, but what can you do with what you got?
Yep. And what's interesting too is that's how I attack when people ask me for some advice on just food. I said, hey, make sure you get your calories up first and then worry about macros later.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, first get the fuel you need, then you can be picky later. Because it's
Yeah.
like calories help with your energy. And then if you want to fine tune things like your aesthetic, then go after macros.
Yeah. Put your fancy rims on, get your tent.
That's right.
You know, make that engine loud, whatever it is.
And I always tell them, I was like, yeah, of course you're going to feel more level if you eat more protein than if you were to eat more carbs.
Yeah,
like,
you'll be satiated.
You'll be more satiated. But you still need to, at the end of the day, you still need to get enough calories.
I mean, for somebody that hasn't been on so a diet is not the keto, the carb cycling. A diet is what you eat on a daily basis.
Yep.
Get the word diet out of your head. Unfreaking learn it.
Yep.
Like, there's a really funny dude on the internet, on Instagram, and he talks a lot about exercises, like exercises that aren't just like good for daily activities of living. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
He was doing like tricep dips, and he's like, don't lean forward, or this is what y'all do. And he always says, unfucking learn it. and then he tells you how to do it. And then he's like, then this one, unfucking learn it. And he's just so enthusiastic about it. And I love it. But yeah, get the word diet out of your head. Unfucking learn it. Unfucking learn healthy food. Unfucking learn not healthy food. Like,
yeah.
Because if somebody is not physically active consistently and not consistently eating pretty much similar things throughout the day that add up to around that same calorie content, if you just add in a little bit of physical activity first, you don't have to worry about your nutrition.
That's right.
Yes, you hear 80-20. 80% of is nutrition, 20% is physical activity. Yes, but those are for advanced people.
That's right.
Like, to be advanced, you got to be training for more than 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Like, beginners or people that are sedentary.
You can get away with exercise.
Yeah. Go for a walk to class. Don't pay to park. Park in your parking spot. 20 minutes of walking.
Yep.
That is what is recommended by the ACSM.
Yep.
20 minutes of aerobic fitness a day.
Yep.
What is aerobic fitness? Not even a brisk walk. And it is hot as hell outside in Oxford, Mississippi. So my backpack is making my back sweat, and I'm burning calories.
That's right.
So you know how many times I do that a day? 40 minutes of walking a day. You know what I do in the gym? I don't do 30 minutes of walking on the treadmill. You know?
Isn't that the craziest thing? I'm so glad you brought that up. That just...
I always chuckle, and I'm sorry, women. I just chuckle. And I know it's a thing of the culture,
right?
Social media, what you think is really going to help. I mean, you may be sitting on your butt all day, but I went into the Turner Center because it was just quick and easy. I said, I'm just going to get a 35-minute lift in. If I go over 35 minutes, just leave.
Yep.
So I give myself 35 minutes just to get something in for that day. And first thing I see when I walk in is 8 ladies walking on a treadmill at an incline. And because there's this big old fad thing about walking on an incline for 30 minutes at 12 level, you know, yes, good, great, good job. You're doing something, yes. But what are you doing? Like, you're just burning a calorie. You can burn way more calories with a resistant load on your body. Like, isn't
it crazy?
Go do some kettlebell. Yeah. Go do some kettlebell swings and superset that with a plank and do that for 10 times.
Yep.
And tell me how sweaty you're going to get then compared to doing that walk. Tell me how fun that's going to be compared to doing that walk.
What's crazy, and I tell ladies all the time when they come in here, they're so scared of getting big, but I'm just like, y'all don't train enough.
You ain't going to get big. Trust me. Look at the rugby player that was in the Olympics. Everyone thinks she's big, but she's a unit.
Yeah.
Because she makes everybody else look small. But she's a rugby player. Yeah. She's got to be big. But
and she works out like a fiend.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about these girls who are scared to get big, and they're working out 2 times a week.
Yeah.
For 30 minutes. Yeah. I'm like, y'all ain't getting big. There's no way.
Oh man. I love seeing if, like, somebody's doing a bench press as a woman. Or,
yes.
Or like actually squatting with some weight on her. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, we ain't judging y'all. Like,
no.
We're proud of y'all, like, more often.
Unless you're walking on an incline treadmill, then we judge it.
Sorry about that one. My bad. That was a little.
I do the same.
That was a little manipulative, or whatever the word is. But
no, I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's just that. Social media is just trash, man. Like, the only social media I really use is Snapchat for a couple of people that I talk to, and then I use Instagram, and it's freaking awesome because whenever I was in my eating disorder area, my Instagram was filled with food, like, it was just all food. Everything. Every ad was food. Everything that was, like, for you was something food related. You know what it is now? Weight training and academics.
Isn't that crazy?
And maybe somebody that's talking and they hear and pick up something that ends up being whatever. But it's either sports, weightlifting, or something educational. And I'm like, hell yeah. If I see a food post, I block that shit. Like,
it's crazy that you know your cues and, like, and this is what I've noticed too, and this just came from a study. I forget what study it was when I was reading it, but the study is basically they were trying to figure out why certain people have better self-control than others. And the main conclusion they got from the two controlled groups was this. The people who had really good self-control didn't put themselves in positions to lose their control. It wasn't because they had better self-control. Mm-hmm. It was because they knew their triggers. I'm not going to go to the bar if I know I'm an alcoholic. I'm not going to go to the strip club if I struggle with lust. Yeah. I'm not going to have food on my Instagram constantly reminding me of the things that I used to struggle with. It's like, that is actually better self-control, is knowing that's, and one of the things they said was the people who have better self-control have better humility about their shortcomings. Mm-hmm. That's why they have better self-control. And I thought that was fascinating. And that's what you're explaining. You just know yourself now.
That's a really good point. Personally, I kind of mentioned in the beginning, I was like, I'm not a homebody, kind of stemming just from where my family was, but mainly right now, I'm not a homebody because of my eating disorder. Whenever I lived on my own, that's where it really stemmed with the binge eating. And it's because I was home alone and I had access to that food. And so, like, my past relationship that I had, I told her straight up, like, I'm vulnerable as hell, you know what I mean? And so, like, I told her, I was like, if I'm spending too much time here, you need to let me know, because the reason why I'm doing that is not only because I really enjoy my time with you and I want to be with you, it's because of my eating disorder. If I'm at my house, I'm going to have temptations to use marijuana, yep. And I'm going to have temptations to binge eat because I've had binge eating in my home. And I had to move my recliner from a easy, accessible spot of sitting on my recliner and watching TV, because that's where the majority of my binge eating did. I haven't sat in my recliner in over a year now. Yeah. I sat in my recliner, took a nap, and I did a meditative breathing exercise in my recliner. Yeah. To kind of self-trigger that. Yep. But that's the thing, like, I'm socially active now to where I have friends that know my story and that understand it, because either A, they've been through something, or they're just a great human and understand and are respectful to it. Yeah. And I give them and tell them to put me in my place if I overstep a boundary, because I'm going to tell you, hopefully, if you overstep my boundary, then that's going to happen. But that's kind of the thing is, like, you know, I either spend a lot of time at her house, or, you know, like right now, spending time with my friends. It's like, I won't go home until like 11 o'clock, because I know if I go home, I know there's going to be temptations to either eat. That's why I haven't bought groceries, or that's why I don't take snacks from the nutrition center anymore. Yep. Because if it's there, it's going to get eaten. Yep. And it's going to go through that cycle. And so, like, I've had to have a talk with my roommates, and it's like, man, so many people can be vulnerable on social media, but they cannot be vulnerable in person. That's right. Like, what? Somebody's going to remember what you say to them compared to what you, well, not what you DM'd them, because they might screenshot that and send it to other people. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's more personable, you know, like, a lot of people say, like, why are you so open? Why are you so helping? Or why are you so, like, direct or vulnerable? Like, why are you vulnerable? I'm like, because I don't want shit to happen that is terrible to me. And so I'm trying to put myself in a situation that I know I can be successful. Yep. And so, like, being at home right when I get off at work at 6 o'clock, I know I'm going to get sad, because what was I doing after work 2 years ago? I was at home alone. I'm home alone because my other buddies is still at work, or he goes and plays poker at his friend's house, or the other one is, you know, with his dog or his girlfriend. So I'm home alone. Well, what is that cue? That cue is that isolation. And that isolation, I know I'll get to that point where I can go home and be okay. Right. But, like, right now where my feet are, that's like, where you're at. It's not what I can do. Right. Like, it's just simply not. And so it's putting you in that controlled setting, understanding where those things happen, like, what triggers it, what doesn't trigger it, what can you do to put yourself out of that situation.
That's interesting you say that too, because that's one of the reasons why I have roommates, is because I don't being single and not married, and then living in Oxford, and then having a deep desire to have sex. It's like, that helps me, because now I have a roommate who watches over me to not allow unnecessary relationships in the house. And so that's one of the rules that's why I've always had roommates, just because I'm so involved with the church. That helps. That's like another layer of accountability, and he's a Christian too.
Yeah.
And so we hold each other to the same standard. And man, that's really wise that you do that, because I do the same. I do the same thing. Ever since I read that, I was telling you that study, I'm like, okay, how can I do this so that way I don't continue to repeat the same sinful behaviors and truly repent?
Yeah.
And it's just, you need people to help you.
People
need people.
Exactly. I mean, we weren't meant to be alone.
Nope.
We weren't.
Nope. Now, talk a little bit about, and we'll close on this, talk a little bit about your faith and where you got to, because obviously your uncle was a preacher.
Yeah.
And then,
so my granddad on my mom's side lived up in Virginia.
Oh, your granddad, sorry.
Yeah, my granddad. And it's kind of funny. My mom always says, you're gonna be a pastor one day. And I don't know everything in the Bible. I don't, like, still learning. It's very difficult for me to understand it, but also still try to take care. I mean, everyone struggles with it. That's why the word is a very difficult thing, and just talking to God, and he understands.
Yep.
Like, so kind of the walk of the faith was, I went to a private school that was Christian based from 6 weeks old to 6 years old, and then went to public school. I didn't know anything. And then, going to daycare, like, it was a Christian based care center, but, I was a child, never went to church with my family. The only time I went was up in Virginia. And then I started, going to church on Sundays whenever I went to Paris. And then when I got here, I was like, I need to find a church. And, like, I was into it. Like, I got my first Bible in junior college, and then got connected with Pine Lake. Pastor Jody, amazing man. His son plays baseball. I actually first met Pastor Jody and his son at South Reg. Didn't know he was the campus pastor. So I got connected with Pine Lake and went to a couple of those Pine Lake college lives on Wednesdays during the times that I could. And the hard thing is like, being an athlete, especially during baseball, you're playing on Sundays. And with me traveling, whenever I was younger, playing summer ball and stuff, like, we were playing on Sundays. And so, we could have gone to church in the morning somewhere different, or if we're out of town or something, but my dad never went to church. He never stepped foot in a church, Yeah,
mine either.
And so, getting connected here and then seeing a whole worldwide of community of my age that went to church, it was like, dang, that's cool. Yeah. And it was interesting. And I'm not the most consistent going to church. I don't read every day. Like, I don't have a devotional. Like, I don't have those things, but I have the trust. Like, I know he's there. I know I can talk to him. I know I praise him. I give him glory. I ask for help. Sometimes that's the hard thing, is like, I'm that person where I don't ask for help.
Yeah.
And so, like, the only person that I truly would ask for help is him. And so I got connected with Pine Lake, started going to college life a little bit, sometimes sporadic when I could. Like, during the spring, I could not. Like, from January to May, June, like, that whole Sunday I would never. But on Ole Miss campus and nationwide, there's this organization called FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And so we had a hiree, and I got connected with them and was kind of like an intern and a disciple. And so that was every Monday night, and started doing that. And so got to be with athletes still, got to share my testimony a little bit, worked in small groups, would read chapters, get bits and pieces of the Bible, and not just try to read straight from front to cover, but also having that accountability, having people that know the story, know how to interpretate it to make it connect to you. So FCA was actually a really big eye-opener on how to walk a life of busyness, of distractions, and so forth, of trying to live college, and if you're doing sports, or if your family is not religious, maybe you're Catholic and you want to be don't believe in the Catholic, church or whatever.
Yeah.
It was adaptable. It was a culture, it was a community, and it was small, but it's growing now. Like, I mean, whenever it first started, there was probably maybe 10 people that would come, and now
Wow.
at least 30 to 40 come now.
Holy cow.
And so it's really, really cool to see it grow. So that kind of happened. And then even during my eating disorder era, like, I never went to church because I never thought of it.
Yeah.
During my eating disorder of binge eating and extreme restriction, I never prayed to God about it. Because I did not think it was I thought the binge eating was, but the restrictive eating, I didn't think it was a problem, or I didn't think it was something,
Yeah.
But then kind of now, just within my past relationship, so I was like I was coming out of like not this past summer, but the summer before, so summer of 23, after I like felt healthy again mentally. Moved into a new house with 2 roommates that they've known them since 2018 when I first stepped foot on campus. I finally felt human. Like, I finally felt a sense of worth. I finally felt noticed again, not just as an athlete, like as an actual human being. And so then I met a lady, and she was Catholic, and started going to mass with her on Sundays. And I remember calling my mom like, hey, I went to church today, went to St. John's, and it was different. Like, Catholic is very different from non-denominational, but it was really cool. It was a learning tool for me, to see the different walks of faith that follow the same God. Awesome. Like, Catholics are awesome. Their ritual, their routine, that's how I am. So I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Learning the prayers, learning like what specifically the gospel was trying to say. Like, it was awesome, because she would go to church every Sunday, man.
Wow.
Like, no matter what circumstance it was, so she kept me accountable.
Yeah.
And so I went to church every Sunday for 10 months.
That's awesome.
That never happened in my life.
Yeah.
Ever. And then once, that relationship had ended, stepped back foot into Pine Lake. First thing I do is I go talk to Pastor Jody. I tell him my testimony, like, why I wasn't here for this extended time. And I don't regret it at all. Like, I loved it. Like, it was awesome, dude. Like, viewing the Catholic faith was amazing.
Yeah.
Father Mark is a fantastic, kind human being. And, but stepping back into Pine Lake, I ended up connecting with Pastor Jody, and we had a talk for an hour and a half, just rekindling, catching up and stuff. Got him a baseball helmet, because he's got like a football helmet and a basketball. And I was like, dude, you need a baseball helmet. So I got him that. And I asked him for one thing. I said, I need consistency and I need accountability. And I told him about, I don't know every story. A lot of people think that I'm faith driven and I portray it. And sometimes that hurts me, because it's like, I don't know everything, like I'm just as lost as you are, but just showing the boldness and the prideness means a lot, and so he got me a really good devotional book. And so that's my consistency. It's just like a workout plan that I know that I can stay with. So, every day is, hey, 2 minutes out of my day, I can't read.
Yep.
I'm already reading research papers and student papers and all this other stuff. What is 2 minutes of actually reading of God and learning something on how to better yourself and grow a relationship, not just with him, but with everybody else? And how can you put it in your life? Why not?
Yeah.
Time is a virtue.
Yep.
Everyone has the same minutes, same seconds, same hours a day. 2 minutes. It's just how long it takes to get up here and go to the restroom and come back. And I would have been done with my devotional. And so that's the biggest thing, and that's my journey right now, is staying consistent. Yep. That's the biggest thing, is staying consistent, finding that little time where it fits in your schedule, and just trying to just grow.
Yep.
Like,
And like you said, the reason why you grow is because of the time you spend with God.
mm-hmm.
Like, don't make it complicated. Just like lifting weights. You want to get stronger? Go
Yeah.
lift weights.
Yeah.
You want to grow your faith to grow? Spend time in God's word.
Yeah. Yeah. Pray to grow big muscles.
That's right.
Yes. Pray to grow big muscles, man. Like, it's really cool. And Oxford is a very good community about it. Like, I know we live in the Bible Belt, but just to see how many students go to Pine Lake,
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
It is really cool just to see that. And then the college life and how much Daniel has done for that. Like, it's really cool to see a church grow. Tremendous. Like, they just got that new campus last year, and
that's beautiful.
Overfill parking lot was in M-Trade parking lot.
Isn't that crazy? Their parking lot's pretty big over there.
850.
Holy cow.
It was like the average service at 9:30.
Jeez.
This past spring.
Holy cow.
850.
I did not know that. Jeez.
That's bigger than people's high school.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
I mean, I know we got a student body of 23,000, but to get close to 1,000, and that's just one service.
Yeah.
Imagine that 11 o'clock service.
Yeah.
Imagine if they added a night service.
Yeah.
Like, I know you mentioned about the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Have you talked about that on the podcast?
I haven't.
You wanna let the people know about that, because you explained it really well to me at one point in time, and I was just like, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the Southern Bible Belt and how it can be beneficial, but also this kind of falsification of living.
Man, that is, I totally forgot I totally forgot I told you that until you brought that up, and I was just like, man, which part? I mean, no, yeah, that was one of the big things. Is the beautiful thing about living in the Bible Belt, because me and you basically we're both minorities. We both came to Oxford, surrounded by a whole bunch of white people, which is very abnormal for us. Yeah. And we weren't born in the Bible Belt. Mm-mm. And when I came here, everyone went to church. Yeah. That was just a normal thing to do. And then all of a sudden, since it's a ritual, it doesn't mean that you're saved. It's just it's just a check mark on the list. Yeah. And which could be challenging. And then you have on the contrary, it's good because you're getting a lot of exposure to God's word. Mm-hmm. But the sad thing is when it's just anyone can be accepted, in a sense of not saying that you have to work to get your way to heaven. You don't. But the parameters now for the Bible Belt is they don't really have some type of structure. They're kind of losing that. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is there's literally 3 marks of a church you got to have according to 1st and 2nd Corinthians, because that's when Paul was literally fighting this church in Corinthians about these issues. 1, display the sacraments, right? Have the Lord's Supper, right? Wine and the bread, like have those things. Second thing is church discipline. If you don't have church discipline, then Johnny down the street who keeps beating his wife and the church doesn't do anything about it and he continues to do it, that's not safe either. And he's required to, if he's a Christian, not to do that. Yeah. And then the third thing is preach the gospel. Yeah. And that's the crazy part too, is majority of churches don't even have those 3 marks. And there's like over 17 marks you need to have, but no church is going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. But those are the 3 main marks. Yeah, definitely. That what I've realized. But yeah, being in the Bible, it's scary because everyone is a believer. That's what they say, but their life dictates something completely different. Yeah. It's kind of like me and you, like lifting weights. It's like, well, you can talk about lifting weights all you want, but I never see you in the weight room and actually putting the work in. And so it's like your devotion, you're starting to get traction. You're having that, like doing 2 minutes a day. You're being consistent. You're asking for accountability. You're praying more. That's all part of your journey. You're growing towards Christ. Yeah. As you grow, the cross gets bigger. Yeah. you know, and everyone has to start somewhere. Yeah. And I've known tons of believers who have started at Pine Lake and started growing their faith there. Mm-hmm. And so, because a lot of people, for some reason, in the Bible Belt too, will look down at Pine Lake. People who are really churched and have a very mature faith. And I think
also you got to look at the community.
Exactly.
Like, they're attracting the community for a certain reason. Like that's why it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
That's why it caught me off guard compared to the church that I was at Paris. I was like, whoa, like strobe lights, like big time worship time. Like that's not my favorite time. Like worship is great. Don't get me wrong. I'll tear up during worship, but I mean, it's an attraction thing and it's a strategic thing.
Yeah.
To get people to come. But then the service, you know, from Chip is awesome.
Yep.
You know, like I kind of treat it as another class period that I have.
Yep.
Is like, I go in there and I'm learning. Then you got to go home and study. You know?
Amen to that.
You got to go home and study.
Yeah. It's just like going to class. Like you said, you can't
Yeah.
just go to class and think you're going to get it.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, like you said, checking off, just another check on the list. You know? And you have to have these, you have to have a plan. You have to have those short-term goals. Like,
you got to have structure.
If you don't have a goal,
yep,
you're just going to be in a windy path.
Yep.
You're just going to go through highs and lows.
Yep.
Or just stay in the storm.
Yep. And it goes back to the point that I have here. That's the downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone goes to church because everyone's going, not because they want to.
Yeah.
You're left out if you don't go.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're an outcast.
Yeah.
And that's the only downfall of the Bible Belt. Because like, if me and you go to church of where we're originally from, they don't care if you go to church or not.
No.
It's not a part of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, you're going because you really want to go, because people look at you weird when you're going to church. Like, why are you going to that? That's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that's what my people would say where
it's
I'm
Sunday
from.
fun day, dude.
That's right.
Let's go get mimosas.
That's right. Yeah. But in the Bible Belt, it's just like, that's one of the downfalls is people make you feel guilty and shameful for not going to church.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the downfalls of being a Christian here is because instead of being encouraging, they're discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
As if your works gets you to heaven.
Yeah.
Like as if you go to church you go to church on every Sunday and still not be saved.
We are the church.
Yes. We are the temple.
That's the building.
Yep. Yep.
The sons of God.
Yep. Now, did I leave anything out? Did you highlight that stood out to you? Or was that pretty much summed it up?
I mean, you touched base on it. Yes, definitely. But yeah. One thing that I do like about Pine Lake now, they started it last year, is they have a men's small group.
Good.
7 a.m. on Wednesday, men. If you want to come, it is great. I love it personally. I'm like the youngest fellow there.
That's awesome.
And so sitting at the table, like with 40, 45-year-old men who have children, may have grandchildren.
Yep.
Bro, they've been through the storm so much more times than I have.
Yep.
And so it gives you that sense of like, people have gotten shot at, people have gotten in car wrecks, people have lost children, people have lost their wives.
Yep.
I'm grateful that I've still have my family.
Yep.
Grateful I'm still have my parents. I'm grateful I'm able to go to school. Like, I haven't been shot at. I haven't lost a kid. I haven't lost a family member. Like,
yep.
So it's like, it gives you this outlook of like men helping men, because men are timid to be vulnerable and
100%.
timid to expel a weakness.
Yep.
And it's okay. Like, this world, the community and world and partially government is to terrorize you.
Yep.
Why do you think everything, going back to nutrition, why do you think everything is artificially flavored? Or why do you think there is these bans in other countries? Because they're trying to decrease our population.
100%.
That's one thing.
Yep.
But, it's just like, a lot of people there's two different types of prayers. There's people that praise and praise only. There's three types. There's both. But people will either tend to just praise God and thank him, or there's people that just ask for him when you need help.
Yep.
But there needs to be a balance.
That's right.
Because imagine you have a friend who is coming to you with all their problems, and there's no good things coming to you. You're the helper every single time. You're going to get burnt out.
Yep.
There's going to come a point in time where you put your foot down and say, I can't do this no more.
Yep.
God's going to act that way. That's how I view it.
Yeah.
Like, it may not be completely religiously right, but
I think
that's how I view it.
Yeah.
One little compliment is going to light up the sky.
Yep.
Like, be thankful that your eyes open this morning. Like, just don't complain about everything. Like, you got to have this sense of gratitude. And a gentleman today, he said it very, very well. Imagine a driveway full of water, just wet water on the driveway, and you have a spongy, right? And you're trying to sweep all the water off. Well, that water is going to spill out into the grass,
Yep.
right? But God's that spongy who's keeping everything in, right? And he's not steering it. He is the sponge. You're steering it.
Yeah.
And so your works of what you're putting in on how to keep everything in your life that is spilling out, your works, your actions, and his power, that spongy, the power, that's what's going to make everything contain.
Yep.
He explained it really well, but I hope people got that.
Yeah.
But I was like, whoa, like he can't just do everything. You have to put in work. You have to be you have to be the vehicle or the steerer, and he's the car.
So it's funny that you say that too, because I go to a Presbyterian church and they lean more towards God's sovereignty. In other words, just let God. It's like, yes and no. Yes. Like you also, it matters what you do.
Yeah.
Not in the midst of salvation, but your works, what you're going to be rewarded. Like there's rewards in heaven for the works that we put in through the power of the Spirit. Mm-hmm. And there's stuff that you have to do. You have to get up and feed yourself. Like you have to get up and work out. You have to get up and force yourself sometimes to do the 2-minute read that you're doing now. Like that takes effort.
Yeah, it does.
And it goes back to like what you said, like you can't, there's got to be a balance. Yes, you need to pray to the Lord to be thankful and do all those things. But if you're not being honest with the Lord, you're probably not asking him for help. You're only thanking him. Mm-hmm. And we are needy. Yeah. All of us are. Yeah. We need God every single day. Like I'm all for praising and gratitude, but sometimes you'd be like, God, I need help. Yeah. I am struggling and I don't even know what to do right now. And please help. Yeah. And that could be your prayer.
Yes. Yeah. Try to stay calm in the storm, man. Everyone's struggling.
Man,
everyone doesn't just struggle every once in a while. Everybody is struggling.
That's right.
Everybody has a struggle at this moment in time. Yeah. There is a struggle.
And I always tell people like this, and me and you talked about this before, the reason why you feel that someone is not struggling is because they're just better at acting. Mm-hmm. It's not because they're not struggling. Yeah. Everyone is struggling to a degree, and some people are more equipped in a sense or have acquired more skills to be able to fight through those things. Like you're acquiring more skills of how to stay away from the eating disorder. Mm-hmm. I'm acquiring more skills to make sure that I'm not being prideful and arrogant. Like, I'm seeing these marks now to make sure I'm okay,
Yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the hammer. You did.
In closing, this is the last question I like to ask. Right now, your top 3 desserts that you eat.
Okay. Wow.
As of now.
I'm a sweets dude. Yeah. I'm such a sweets guy. Wow. Okay, so I don't know if you want to count this as a sweet though.
Which one is it?
So in the nutrition center, they've been making, how do you call it? So it's an energy oat ball. So it's peanut butter, oats, and honey, and chocolate chips.
Oh, that sounds good.
But they started, instead of chocolate chips, they started crushing up Oreos.
Oh, man.
And so you put the peanut butter, the oats, the honey, and the crushed up Oreos, get it to that right consistency of the honey and peanut butter and oats, make little balls, put them in the refrigerator. Dude, banger. Oh, my God. And they're like 150 calories a pop, so I'll eat like 5 of them. There we go. Come on. But
all right, is that number 1?
No, that
doesn't count? Okay.
No,
that's pretty good.
But it's healthy, right? It's
Dude,
a nutrition center for athletes. If we want to go sweets, I am going to Crumble this week because this is Crumble's birth week. Yeah. And instead of just cookies, they have like these little like dessert cup things, and they have like a layered birthday cake. And I've had it before. Oh my God.
What type of birthday cake is it? Like just
I don't know. It's just like
a whole
the
bunch
vanilla cake with sprinkles and their icing, dude.
That's it. They ain't gonna tell you the secret.
Crumble, and then I also have a Oreo one with sprinkles on it.
Oh man,
like a cookie. Okay, Crumble. I'll eat all 4 cookies and I will not feel a thing, and I'm okay with it.
All right. So that's number 1, or okay?
We'll just say birthday cake. Anything birthday cake.
Got it.
Second, red velvet cake.
Oh,
Cream cheese. Get that.
you gotta have the ice. You gotta have the
gotta
icing.
have the cream
Yes.
cheese. If you don't eat icing on your desserts, you are a maniac.
Hey, that's serial killer vibes, right?
Yes, you get a cookie cake and you don't eat the icing on the cooking cake. What are we doing with life? What are we doing?
That's so funny. I didn't even think about that.
Oh goodness. Damn, these are all cakes.
You love cakes.
Birthday cake is I love birthday cake.
Okay.
That's number one. And then it's gonna have to be red velvet and then carrot cake.
Carrot cake. Yeah, carrot cake is good.
So it's satiating.
Yes.
Like birthday cake, I'll pound it.
Yeah.
But carrot cake, like I can limit myself to it because I feel like, okay, I'm satisfied with
And
carrot
it's heavy.
cake. Yeah, you get the little crunch of the like walnuts or pecans that they put in it, and the shredded carrots and that cream cheese.
Oh man, you're making me hungry.
I'm gonna have to go get some dessert now.
Well, Tyler, seriously, thanks for coming on and taking the time. I know you're super busy, and it was fun.
Appreciate it.
I don't even know how long we went, but it was great.
Whatever. It was awesome, dude. I hope somebody learned something. I do. But I'm living, man, and it's a journey. I'm 26 years old and got 2 years here left in Oxford. Maybe I'll stay here, maybe I don't, but there ain't no reason to stress about it. Just one foot in front of the other and learn how to balance social life and school and myself, take care of myself, learning those boundaries, following through with those boundaries. And so I think just finding that community, finding those friends, finding those people that
get the support
you don't see in 3 years and it feels like you've seen them yesterday.
Yep.
Like those types of relationships are relationships that are really, really good for you.
Yep.
And so those are the things, like just knowing those cues, knowing those lights of this and that, of what's needed for me and what's not needed for me. It's life's a battle, man, and everyone says it, and everyone's living it, and you just have to believe it. And then what are you doing in those darkest of valleys?
Yep.
Everyone's valley is going to be deeper than anybody else.
Yep.
Could be 2 years, could be 5 years. You never know. It could be a day.
Yep.
It's just how you respond and what you can control and how you can control the uncontrollables.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it was fun, dude. Can I come get a workout in?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm like, I want to use that
Smith machine.
Yeah,
I mean, not the Smith machine, the safety bar. Yeah.
And then, yeah, like I said earlier, I think the heaviest dumbbell you have is 50.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
If our clients are pumping out 50, I'm like, all right, let's knock out 20 reps then.
Yeah. I remember coming back from my injury, I posted like a little video, and a couple of videos were me training in here.
That's so awesome.
And I was like, heck yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, man, I had a blast. Thank you for letting me be here.
No problem, man. All right, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed the podcast, and hopefully see y'all soon.